Hey, I'm Jay Royster, and today we are meeting with Andy Misiaveg, partner with the Shopping Center Group. We're going to talk about his client, Topgolf, and other retail deals. So let's go check it out. So here we are with Andy Misiaveg, partner with the Shopping Center Group here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Andy, thanks for sitting down with us today and talking with us.
Yeah, Jay, happy to be here. I know you and I go back a long ways in your career, and always happy to sit down and spend some time with you.
Yeah, appreciate the support. Yeah, you knew me from day one in the commercial real estate business.
That's right.
You've seen me come a long way.
A little wee lad back in the day, but good to see you all grows up now, as they say.
Yeah, well, appreciate that. And we won't get into my background because we're here to talk about you and Topgolf. Andy has represented Topgolf here in the Carolinas, and I'm personally interested in learning more about that because we have not talked about this yet. But before we get into that, if you could tell us about your background and where you are today in commercial real estate.
Sure. So where I am today is always up in the air based on the day and what's happening in my world. But been in the business for over 22 years now. Started with the Shopping Center Group here in Charlotte, right out of school at Clemson University. Go Tigers. And started back in '99 and have been with Shopping Center Group ever since. It's been a great organization, headquartered out of Atlanta. For your viewers and listeners that might not be familiar with it, with about 25 offices around the country. And it's been a great run for me at the Shopping Center Group. If they threw me out, I'd probably be out sweeping floors. I wouldn't know what to do with myself after 22 years. That's my day-to-day role, and I run our tenant representation and land acquisition team over there.
Great, thanks for that background. So before we get into talking about the South Charlotte Topgolf deal, and curious to learn more about other Topgolf deals that you've worked on as well, we don't have to stay specific to Charlotte, even though this is a Charlotte-focused video series. Tell us about your relationship with Topgolf as an agency relationship, consulting, site selection. What is that relationship dynamic like?
Sure. So in preparation for our interview, I did go back and check my my old files to remember some of the data for our conversation. And we were referred the Topgolf account back in 2012, early 2013, through a relationship that we have with our referral network partner through Chain Links in Dallas, the Retail Connection. At the time, the Retail Connection had formed a national relationship with Topgolf to be their out-of-house consultant and agent for their nationwide rollout. At that time, Topgolf is not what we know as Topgolf now. I think they maybe had 5 units open domestically, and it really just jumped the pond from the UK, where they were originally founded back in the mid-2000s. The US investors had bought the technology and the rights to do Topgolf over here and kind of took what they had done in the UK, spent a lot more money, jazzed it up, and made it what we know as Topgolf now. So they approached us back in 2012 or 2013 to come over with Charlotte as their first location. At the time, there was very few of them, and you're looking at it online, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm a golfer, I like to play golf. It's just a driving range. How cool can it be? I go to driving ranges all the time, and I'll grab a beer and hit some balls, and you know, it is what it is. I'm like, it can't be that fun. And so the guys from Retail Connection said, fly out, come see the unit in Houston that we just opened, which was right near on the energy corridor near ExxonMobil's headquarters and a lot of big corporate employers out there. And they said, come check it out. They're like, trust us, just trust us. And I said, okay. So I got on a plane, flew out there, and met the guys there, met their head of real estate, and met the guys from Retail Connection that were running the account. And we went to Topgolf at 7 o'clock, and I walk in, and there's music pumping and great food and drinks and the environment, and you walk over and you start to learn how to play the game of Topgolf with the points and hitting at the various targets. And in my normal driving range session, if I'm out playing golf, maybe it's 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes, and I walked out of there 4 hours later, and it felt like it had only been 5 minutes. I mean, the experience was really memorable. Just the way they deliver the entertainment, the actual game itself, the technology that they impart in it, and then the look and build out and kind of all the sounds and flavor. It was really unique, and I'd never seen anything like it.
So that was in 2012, 2013. Speed us up then to the South Charlotte deal. I'm assuming that was the first Topgolf location I know in Charlotte, but also was it the Carolinas?
It was in the Carolinas. They had one under construction in Atlanta at the time that I was able to go visit in the West Midtown area. And so I was able to kind of see some of the characteristics of that site, and we started looking for sites. And the goal was going to be, Charlotte was going to be the launch for the Carolinas because it's the biggest city and the largest corporate base here. So they wanted to launch here because they're really geared towards the millennials plus corporate entertaining. So they really needed a big backing of different corporate employers to be able to have events there. So we started looking. The goal was originally to try and look near the Ballantyne area in South Charlotte because of all the office population there, the access to the interstates and the regionality, plus the customer profile. So we looked near that area. We looked along the 77 corridor at some sites and weren't able to materialize anything. And we actually had looked at the site that we ended up doing over in the Whitehall area in Southwest Charlotte where the first Topgolf was, and had passed on it because we wanted to stay at 77 or east of 77 for those who are familiar with Charlotte. There was just a lot more density east of 77 at the time, and west of 77 was more characterized by the airport and a lot of distribution, warehousing, so it just didn't have the amount of daytime and also residential density. Well, we searched for about a year and a half and couldn't find anything that could either meet the pricing criteria or the real estate criteria, or for whatever reason, something would just happen with the site and the deal and we just couldn't transact on it. So I get a call in early 2015 from Patrick Russell at AAC Real Estate, who was head of retail leasing at AAC and quite the character. He comes off as the buttoned-up guy during work, but he's actually riding motorcycles and has a huge gun collection, and a lot different than what he looks like in his daytime job when he's out at a motorcycle rally in Sturgis. But he calls me back and he says, hey, we've gotten a call from a group that's kind of a knockoff that's trying to roll out, that wants to be like Topgolf. It was a group that had no units open at the time, but they had some technology that they were trying to implement. They were going to try and open up a similar driving range experience and entertainment experience to Topgolf. He called me and said these guys are looking at a contract here, and he said, so if Topgolf wants to move forward, we'd like to have them reconsider the site, and if not, we're looking at doing the competitor here. So that turned the fire on us very quickly. We decided to move forward quickly to purchase the land because we didn't want to lose the market share to a competitor. Plus, we had been looking for 18 months, and I think the team at Topgolf realized that it was going to be hard to transact on a site that met all of our variables. So we were starting to have to maybe potentially compromise a little bit based off the area that we had originally looked at. So we were able to move forward quickly and come to terms with Patrick and with Paul Herndon and the AAC real estate team, who were great to work with. They had a large tract of land there that they wanted to kick off new development on in the Whitehall Park, and we were able to come to business terms with them and move forward on the contract. And we closed, I want to say, in spring of 2016 on the land was when we closed to start construction.
That's great story. So speaking of that closing, is Topgolf, what is their preference? Do they usually like to own or lease their real estate?
Well, it's changed a little bit since then. At the time, they wanted to own their real estate, and the cost to build them were not nearly as much as they are now with how much construction costs have gone up, and then obviously site work costs. So today they'll still consider a purchase because they are owned by Callaway, which is a publicly traded company and has a huge balance sheet behind them. They are able to do more traditional ground leases and fund their own vertical construction. And they are also able to do reverse build-to-suit ground leases where a developer and owner will fund a large majority of their improvements through a tenant improvement allowance. Which is how we structured the deal on the north side of town. That was the second deal. But they've got a lot of flexibility in the way they can structure deals to get creative to work with the land. I will say one unique, interesting issue that we ran into during the transaction is because the property is located so near the airport, I think it's maybe a mile away from where the airport property starts at, and the light poles for Topgolf go up to 150 feet. It was an interesting challenge because if you get to a certain height within a certain distance of a runway for the airport, they have, different height restrictions, different light restrictions, so your building can't influence the airplanes that are coming in. So that was one really interesting situation in real estate that I'd never run into, which was a potential height or light violation situation with the runway and the path of the airplanes that come in on the runway. So that was a real interesting process to go about with them.
Let's zoom out from the Topgolf for a minute and talk about brick and mortar retail at a more macro level. You're obviously an expert in the space. I think a lot of people think there's this doom and gloom around retail. E-commerce is growing, but I think what a lot of people don't realize is brick and mortar retail sales are also growing. What are your thoughts on the retail outlook moving forward?
It has changed quite a bit, and then obviously COVID's accelerated a lot of the changes that were occurring in the retail world and sorted out a lot of concepts that either were struggling to survive, that didn't make it out through COVID, or helped them evolve their processes to become more streamlined and more accessible for the customer. So retail's definitely not dying, it's evolving. This whole retail Armageddon statement that's been out there for a while is a little bit of fake news. There are some traditional concepts that are struggling. There are some department stores that are still struggling, that were overbuilt, some big box stores that got overbuilt, and some restaurants that were overbuilt. So there certainly are concepts that were overbuilt for the amount of population that we have here. Plus, with the digital involvement that's out there now, customers are able to have a retail experience in a number of different ways from just the traditional brick and mortar location. So it's forcing retailers to have to evolve. It's forcing them to streamline their stores, make them more efficient, make them more approachable, have a better customer experience, and allow that customer to have that experience that they want, both either at home or either on their phone or on their desktop or laptop or wherever they're interfacing with that retailer, for them to be able to get comfortable with that brand and what that experience is and what they're delivering.
Great. Well, Andy, thanks for sitting down with us today and talking with us about Topgolf. We're very fortunate here in Charlotte to have a couple of those locations, and look forward to continued success for you and Shopping Center Group as well.
Thanks so much, Jay. Always great to spend time with you, and good to be here today and talk about one of the funner, more unique deals in my career.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for watching today. If you're interested in keeping up with the latest developments in Charlotte, make sure to like and subscribe.